So we've all heard of guardian angels. You're about to walk backwards off of a step and then you hear something whisper in your ear, stop, and you look down and you was only inches away from breaking your neck and ruin your whole family's life. Or you're driving down the road and you hear something whisper, slow down. Come to find out, a tractor trailer just blew through a red light and killed everybody, but luckily your guardian angel saved your life. But one thing you probably haven't ever heard of is a guardian demon, and I ran across a post which I'm going to read to you. But before we do, I'd like to go over what it could be besides a literal angel. Have you ever heard of a tulpa? This is an entity that you conjure up, but it takes months and months of meditation to bring them into reality. You have to put forth that much energy into the creation of this thing. Now, if your subconscious notices you're in a dire situation, maybe it can conjure up something to faintly whisper, just give you a little glimpse of what a tulpa could be. And I do find that interesting. So with that being said, I'm going to read you this post that I got permission to tell everybody because I find it very interesting. I would like for you to keep that in the back of your mind. Now, this isn't a super happy post, and well, it's kind of involves a little bit of abuse. So let that bear in mind. All right, this post is from User in Between the Liminal. Hi everyone, this is a story about how my mother became convinced she gave me a demon. Demons? Honestly, sometimes I think she may be right. Back in the 90s, my mom and dad were Satan worshippers, not in the sophisticated Anton LaVey kind of way, but in the getting high on and doing blood rituals kind of way. They claim to have seen some truly outlandish things during these ceremonies, but who knows what was real and what was a drug-induced illusion. One night, after their usual demon summoning sessions or whatever they were actually doing, my mom went to bed and had a nightmare that would follow her for years. In the dream, she was engulfed in a lake of hellfire, burning alive when a dark figure reached its hand out to her. The moment she touched it, she felt something she thought was more than death. She felt her soul being stripped away, like a true death. She would have intense feelings of dread, panic, sorrow, etc. Right before she lost everything, she'd wake up in a panic. That dream haunted her for years. Even when she was awake, she said she could feel a presence, something heavy, suffocating, watching her like prey. After that night, she swore off rituals completely. I mean, go team, it took her long enough. A few years later, I was born in prison where my mother found faith during her sentence. She still had the dream occasionally and the feeling of being watched lingered, but it wasn't constant. Then, whenever I was about 7 or 8, she had the nightmare one final time. Not long after, I started seeing him, a dark figure in my closet, or in the corner of my room, or in the shadows of the trees outside. Always watching, and usually at night when it could be ruled out as a kid afraid of the dark. I was a troubled kid. I'd recently gone through a traumatic event and was living in an abusive household with my mother and her then husband. I had been diagnosed with reactive attachment disorder and was medicated. Thanks to my mom getting out and taking me from her parents who raised me to that point. At first, she brushed off my stories as an overactive imagination, but then I told her he had a name. Doug. Yeah, not very creative, but it's what I called him as I got used to him. I told her Doug spoke to me, told me to do things, say things. Soon, she started claiming I was hurting her and my sisters, doing things I have no memory of to this day. She said I blamed Doug for everything, that I scared her, that she didn't know what to do with me. She told her therapist, CPS got involved. I think she was hoping they'd take me away, but instead they just told her to keep me isolated. I wasn't allowed out of my room. The abuse got worse, and according to her, so did I. The only thing I do remember is the torment from her and my stepdad, being sad and talking to my shadow man because I was a lonely child with an alarm on my door. I remember a few yelling matches with my mother, saying I hated her, and at the time, I felt like I did. Eventually, she gave me to my dad, the man I'd only recently met, and of course, I brought Doug with me. But something changed. At my dad's house, there were no claims of sudden outbursts, no unexplained violence, no lost time. Doug was still around just watching till I was about 13, then he just disappeared. For years, I believe my mom had made the whole thing up. Maybe she used Doug as a scapegoat to justify how she treated me. It was easier to say your child is buddies with a demon than admit you were abusing them. Though we have fixed our relationship and she's admitted to and apologized for a lot of things, including giving me Doug, the one thing she maintains is that he was real. I guess she stayed living in that reality and I wrote it off that she is just mentally unwell, and I was overly imaginative and fed into her declining mental state at the time. But then something happened. Sometime around 2018, my sister and I were talking about all of this. She was making fun of Doug, mocking him, joking around. I told her, "You better stop, Doug might come for you." She doubled down and kind of dared him. We carried on with our evening until she went home. That night, she'd been laying in bed when she heard scratching at her bedroom door, followed by a low growl. She assumed it was our other sister's cat trying to get in, but when she opened the door, nothing, no cat. She checked our sister's room and found both her and the cat fast asleep. The next morning, she asked if anyone had messed with her or heard the sounds. No one had. Of course, she called me and nothing out of the ordinary happened with me, but she seemed truly terrified. That was the only time I ever thought, maybe he's real. So yeah, that's my Doug. Maybe he was never real. Maybe he was a coping mechanism, a shared hallucination, or a manifestation of trauma. Or maybe, just maybe, my mother really did give me a demon. Guess I'll never really know. I do find this story incredibly interesting on so many different levels because it was like, oh, this demon's going to possess me, but it's going to take over my body whenever I'm getting severely beaten. Now, you could look at the extremely rare things like multiple personality disorder, but that is so extremely rare, and not only that, I feel like it just wouldn't go away. But I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a moniatrist. I don't know. But anyways, I thought that was really interesting. And if you happen to have a demon story that you would like to, tell me that kind of helped you out, or an angel story, I would love to hear it because I love these things. Anyways, I thought that was fun, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye.